Namaste, and welcome to the ReliTalks, your space for spiritual storytelling, sacred knowledge, and a deeper dive into the traditions that have shaped human history. Let me ask you something. What is the oldest religion in the world? Is it a single belief system, a philosophy, a culture, or something beyond all that? What if I told you that there exists a tradition, still alive today, that has no single founder, no rigid dogma, and no clear beginning or end? Yet, it continues to shape the lives of over 1 billion people on this planet. What if I told you that this tradition contains thousands of gods, yet speaks of one divine reality? That it celebrates rituals older than most empires, yet welcomes new ways of thinking with open arms? This is Hinduism, one of the most ancient, profound, and misunderstood spiritual paths in human history. And in this episode of the ReliTalks, we're going on a journey across time, across civilizations, across consciousness itself, to explore the origin of Hinduism. We'll uncover the myths and the facts, the stories and the scriptures, the rituals, the gods, the philosophies, and how it all began. Whether you're a curious learner, a spiritual seeker, or someone rediscovering your roots, this journey is for you. So get comfortable, open your mind, and let's begin. Chapter 1. Before Hinduism had a name. To understand the origin of Hinduism, we must first understand a simple truth. Hinduism is not a religion in the way many people think of religion. There is no single founder, no prophet, no holy war, no one book that defines everything. What we call Hinduism today is actually a vast collection of traditions, beliefs, stories, practices, and philosophies that evolved over more than 4,000 years on the Indian subcontinent. But where did it begin? The oldest known roots take us back to the Indus Valley Civilization, around 3300 BCE, modern-day Pakistan and northwest India. Here, a sophisticated society thrived with urban planning, sanitation, trade, and possibly early spiritual practices. Archaeologists have found seals with mystical symbols. Some show figures seated in what looks like yogic postures, surrounded by animals. One famous figure, the so-called Pashupati seal, resembles what would later be seen as an early form of Shiva, the lord of beasts and of transformation. Were these people proto-Hindus? We don't know for sure. Their script hasn't been deciphered. But their sacred symbols, trees, animals, rivers, hint at spiritual roots that would later re-emerge in Hindu culture. Chapter 2. The Vedic Age. Voices of the Ancients. Around 1500 BCE, a new cultural wave entered the Indian subcontinent, Indo-Aryans, speaking Vedic Sanskrit. They brought with them a sacred oral tradition, hymns, prayers, and mantras that would become the foundation of Hindu scripture, the Vedas. Rigveda, the oldest, filled with hymns to gods like Agni, fire, Indra, war, and Varuna, cosmic law. Samaveda, music and chants. Yajurveda, rituals and sacrifices. Atharva Veda, spells, healing, and everyday life. These texts spoke of Urta, the cosmic order. Everything had its place in the universe, and rituals helped maintain that harmony. The world of the Vedas was centered around yajna, fire sacrifices, where priests offered ghee, grains, and mantras to the gods, asking for rain, children, victory, and wisdom. But these weren't just superstitions. Embedded in these rituals were cosmic truths of interdependence, of duty, of cycles of time. And slowly, deeper questions began to arise. Chapter 3. The Inner Quest, the Upanishadic Revolution. Around 800 BCE, a new spiritual current began to stir. People began asking, what lies beyond the gods? What is the self? Why do we suffer? What happens after death? These questions gave birth to the Upanishads, the mystical, philosophical heart of Hinduism. They shifted the focus from outer ritual to inner realization. Here, the gods took a back seat. The new pursuit was Brahman, the infinite, formless, eternal reality behind everything. And Atman, the true self, the soul that is not the body, not the mind, but pure consciousness. And the shocking truth, you are that. In Sanskrit, Tattvam Asi. The Upanishads taught that the individual soul is the universal soul. That liberation, moksha, comes not from performing rituals, but from realizing your true nature. These teachings were radical, revolutionary, and they would echo across centuries. Chapter 4. The Age of Stories, Epics and Devotion. As philosophy deepened, so did mythology. Between 500 BCE and 500 CE, Hinduism entered its epic age, when sacred stories became the bridge between the divine and the everyday human world. The two great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, were not just tales of war and heroes. They were spiritual texts exploring dharma, karma, and the human struggle. And in the middle of the Mahabharata, we find the Bhagavad Gita, perhaps the most beloved Hindu scripture. It's a conversation between Arjuna, a warrior prince frozen in fear on the battlefield, and his charioteer, who is none other than Krishna, an avatar of God. Krishna teaches him about duty, non-attachment, and the paths to liberation, the path of action, karma yoga, the path of devotion, bhakti yoga, the path of knowledge, jnana yoga. The message? Do your duty without ego. Love the divine without expectation. Know yourself as the eternal soul. Chapter 5. Gods, goddesses, and the infinite faces of the divine. One of the most fascinating parts of Hinduism is its deities. Not one, not two, but thousands. How can one religion believe in so many gods and yet claim that all is one? Because Hinduism sees the divine like light through a prism. One white light, split into many colors. At the highest level is Brahman, the formless, unmanifest source of all. But for those seeking form, love, relationship, there is Ishvara, the personal God, who appears in countless forms. Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, Shiva, the destroyer and transformer. Devi, the goddess in all her forms, Durga, Kali, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Ganesha, the remover of obstacles. Krishna, Rama, Hanuman, avatars and devotees, each is a doorway to the same divine reality. In temples, homes, festivals, and hearts, these gods become companions, mentors, symbols, and reflections of our own inner powers. Chapter 6. Paths to the Divine, Unity in Diversity. Hinduism doesn't say one path for all. It says many paths, one truth. If you're inclined toward knowledge and inquiry, follow Jnana Yoga. If you're drawn to love and surrender, follow Bhakti Yoga. If you believe in action and service, follow Karma Yoga. If you seek silence and meditation, follow Raja Yoga. Each leads to the same goal, realizing your true self and merging with the divine. This pluralism is the soul of Hinduism. It doesn't force, it invites. Chapter 7. Dharma, Karma, Samsara, Moksha. Let's break down the four cornerstones of Hindu worldview. Dharma. Duty, righteousness, living in harmony with the universe. Everyone has a unique dharma, whether a teacher, a parent, a student, or a king. Karma. Every action has consequences, absolutely. Here's the continuation and completion of the full 3,000-word voiceover script for your 20-minute YouTube video on the origin of Hinduism for the ReliTalks channel. We continue right where we left off, explaining the four central pillars of the Hindu worldview. Continued. Chapter 7. Dharma, Karma, Samsara, Moksha. Karma. Every action has consequences. Not just in this life, but across lifetimes. Do good and positive outcomes will unfold. Act selfishly or harmfully, and the effects return, not as punishment, but as a natural law of cause and effect. Samsara. This is the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. According to Hindu thought, the soul is eternal, but it takes on countless bodies across time, learning and evolving through experiences. Moksha. The ultimate goal, liberation, freedom from the cycle of samsara. It's the moment when the soul realizes its oneness with Brahman and no longer needs to be reborn. It's not death, it's awakening. These four ideas, Dharma, Karma, Samsara, and Moksha, aren't just philosophical. They influence how millions live every single day, how they treat others, how they respond to challenges, how they see suffering and success. It's a worldview that invites growth, not through fear, but through wisdom and self-realization. Chapter 8. Temples, Symbols, and Sacred Spaces. Now let's explore something beautiful, how Hinduism expresses itself in the world. Imagine walking into a Hindu temple. You smell incense, you hear bells. You see bright colors, intricate carvings, flowers, sacred chants in the air. A temple is not just a place of worship. It's an energetic space, a model of the cosmos, a place where the divine is not worshipped far away, but experienced here and now. You'll see sacred symbols everywhere. The Om, Aum, the primal sound of the universe. The lotus flower, purity emerging from the mud. The swastika, an ancient symbol of auspiciousness, not to be confused with the corrupted version from the 20th century. The Trishul, trident of Shiva, destroying ignorance, ego, and illusion. The Tilak or Bindi, marking the third eye, or spiritual center. These symbols carry deep meaning, reminding practitioners of the unseen truths beneath the surface of life. Chapter 9. Festivals of Light, Color, and Devotion. Hinduism is not just about silence and solitude, it's also about celebration. Throughout the year, Hindus celebrate dozens of vibrant festivals, each with layers of spiritual, seasonal, and cultural meaning. Diwali, the festival of lights, celebrating the return of Lord Rama and the triumph of light over darkness. Holi, the festival of colors, marking the arrival of spring and the playful love of Krishna. Navaratri, 9 nights of honoring the goddess in her fierce and nurturing forms. Ganesh Chaturthi, celebrating the birth of the elephant-headed deity, Ganesha, the remover of obstacles. Ratha Yatra, a chariot festival, symbolizing the soul's journey with the divine. Each festival is a reminder, life is sacred, joy is spiritual, and the divine lives not just in meditation, but in music, dance, food, art, and togetherness. Chapter 10. Philosophical Branches. 6 schools, infinite insights. Hinduism contains many philosophical schools called darshanas, ways of seeing the truth. 6 classical schools developed over centuries, engaging deeply with metaphysics, logic, consciousness, and liberation. Nyaya, the school of logic and reasoning. It teaches clear thinking and debate as a spiritual path. Vaisheshika focuses on the building blocks of the universe, atoms, substances, categories. Sankhya, one of the oldest systems. It describes reality as a dualism of Purusha, consciousness, and Prakriti, matter. Yoga, based on Sankhya, but emphasizes mental discipline and spiritual practice, outlined in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Mimamsa focuses on Vedic ritual and Dharma as paths to spiritual merit. Vedanta, literally the end of the Vedas. It explores non-dualism, Advaita, dualism, Dvaita, and qualified non-dualism, Vishishtadvaita. Rather than competing, these schools coexisted, like different rivers flowing into the same ocean of truth. Chapter 11. Bhakti, the path of love and devotion. Starting around the 6th century CE, a new wave of spiritual energy swept through India. Bhakti, the path of loving devotion to a personal God. This wasn't about dry philosophy. It was about surrender, emotion, poetry, and intimacy with the divine. Saints like Mirabai, Tulsidas, Kabir, Ravidas, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sang songs of love to Krishna, Rama, or the formless divine. Their message was radical. You don't need caste, status, or even formal education to reach God. All you need is love. Bhakti made spirituality personal. God became a mother, a lover, a friend, and millions found liberation not in rituals, but in the tears of longing, the joy of prayer, the ecstasy of singing his name. Chapter 12. From the past to the present, a living tradition. You might think Hinduism is something of the past, but in truth, it's a living, evolving tradition. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Hindu thinkers like Swami Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, Paramahansa Yogananda, and Mahatma Gandhi brought Hindu wisdom into the modern world. Vivekananda declared, "All religions are true," and introduced Hinduism to the West at the 1893 Parliament of Religions in Chicago. Yogananda wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, blending yoga, devotion, and universal spirituality. Gandhi used ahimsa, non-violence, as a tool of national liberation, inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. And today, Hinduism thrives in temples across India and the world, in yoga studios, in homes, in online satsangs, and spiritual retreats. There are over 1 billion Hindus worldwide, yet everyone may practice differently. Because Hinduism isn't about believing the right thing. It's about seeking, growing, and realizing the truth for yourself. So, what is Hinduism, really? If you've stayed with us until now, you might be wondering, what is Hinduism? It's not just a religion. It's a spiritual ecosystem, a vast, living, breathing tradition that embraces diversity and contradiction, depth and devotion, science and spirit. It doesn't say follow me or perish. It says truth is one. The wise call it by many names. It doesn't offer a fixed map. It hands you a lamp and says, go within, the divine is there. It invites you to see the sacred in rivers and stars, in silence and sound, in ancient mantras and the cry of a baby. It welcomes the philosopher and the poet, the scientist and the mystic, the monk and the householder. Hinduism is not just a religion of the past. It is a tradition that helps you live in the present and points you toward the eternal. And in that sense, it may not have a single origin, because it is as old as the human soul itself. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time, thought, and tradition. If you enjoyed this video and want more deep dives into world religions, philosophies, and spiritual ideas, please like, share, and subscribe to the ReliTalks. What part of Hinduism resonated with you the most? The philosophy, the deities, the stories, the spiritual practices? Leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, stay curious, stay conscious, and remember, the divine is not far away. It's within you. Namaste.